Welcome to Core Cutting This Week, the podcast recorded October 31st, 2019. Happy Halloween to everybody. This is the show where we break down some of the biggest stories from the past week in the world of core cutting. Jess and I give you all of our opinions and what you need to know about what's happening right now to help you break free from the high cost of cable TV and still watch the shows you enjoy. Jess, big Halloween plans tonight? What are you up to?
I plan on staying home and watching Hocus Pocus. Those are my big plans for the night. What about you? Are you trick-or-treating?
Not a bad plan. No, I think I'm probably going to be the one manning the door tonight since I'm fighting a little bit of cold and let my wife and daughter go out and do the trick-or-treating. We'll see. New place to live. Not sure how much candy to buy. It's always that question. It's like, will there be a ton of people? Will there be no people? I don't know. We'll wait and find out. So, but there's been some spooky things happening in the world of core cutting right now, including PlayStation Vue is shutting down, which seems like, didn't we talk about that last week? Wasn't that?
We sure did. I feel like we predicted this. We should go as fortune tellers for Halloween.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's what we said would happen if they didn't quickly find a buyer. That's what I was hearing from inside of Sony at the time. And sure enough, Sony has decided to shut down PlayStation Vue after failing to find a buyer. I've heard rumors that the price they were asking was anywhere from high 500 millions to close to $1 billion for the service. And Sony says that today, here's a quick quote from their statement on their site. Today we are announcing that we will shut down the PlayStation Vue service on January 30th, 2020. Unfortunately, the high competitive pay TV industry with expensive content and network deals has been slower to change than we expected. Sony said. Sony went on to say, because of this, we have decided to remain focused on our core gaming business. So yeah, a lot's happening in the world of core cutting right now. Hey Jess, why don't you break down some of the more what's happening?
Oh, sorry about that. My microphone stopped working for just a second. Yeah, so let's talk. Do we want to keep talking about PlayStation?
Yeah, break down what's happening with PlayStation Vue leaving.
Sure. So PlayStation Vue has announced that they are leaving on January 30th of 2020. So there was a lot of talk about this. And like you said, Luke, we kind of talked about this last week. We went over the possibility that this will be happening, and now it's been confirmed. So on January 30th of 2020, so for everyone who's saying, well, I still have it, it's still working for me, that's because we still have a little bit of time. Also, like you said, they're asking for quite a bit of money for this. So we've gotten a lot of questions lately asking whether we think that someone will come in at the last second and buy PlayStation Vue, but it kind of looks like they're asking for a lot of money. There's not a whole lot of interest. We're not really sure who would buy it or how that would all work out. So there are a lot of reasons for this, and you kind of broke down some of those in blog posts. There are a lot of reasons that PlayStation Vue didn't work out, but I think that for us, our main factor in believing that PlayStation Vue failed is that their marketing was just kind of terrible. So starting out with the name PlayStation Vue, people have just kind of assumed that PlayStation, that you would need a PlayStation, to watch PlayStation Vue, when that's not true. It worked on many different devices, but that was not communicated clearly. And then there's just a lot of other factors. There was a lot of competition. Their pricing wasn't the best. And for me personally, I think that one of the big factors is that they didn't have original content. And I think that's something where Hulu has really excelled, Netflix has really excelled. Even some of the free streaming services like Sony Crackle, they have this original content that really helps them stand out.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised by Sony's, how quickly they moved to do this. And honestly, not surprised at all, to be honest with you, that they decided to shut down PlayStation Vue. Never felt like Sony was fully committed to it. They didn't put the marketing behind it, and they didn't put the effort behind it that they really needed to in order to make it successful. So, I don't know, Jess. Here's my question to you. Does it surprise you that PlayStation Vue, being the second launched, had 500,000? Does that surprise you more? Or does it surprise you more that they've been losing subscribers? Where are you? I guess my main question is, are you surprised that they got as large as they did with the poor marketing? Or are you surprised that they didn't get bigger even with the poor marketing?
I would definitely say that I'm more surprised that they got as big as they did. I think just the name alone has turned so many people off to PlayStation Vue that I'm surprised with the lack of marketing, the lack of promotion that they did, that they ever got that many subscribers. I'm not surprised to see that so many people have left the service already. I think that there's just so much competition. There's so many other options offering the same channels, plus originals, plus exclusive content at cheaper price points. I think that that's really what caused a lot of people to leave the service and why Sony PlayStation Vue ultimately couldn't survive.
Yeah, it's such a tough one. A lot of people have tried to make this out to be about cord cutting, and I really don't think this is about cord cutting. I think this has a lot more to do about the general state of TV. And if you're either 100% in or 100% out, you need to be one or the other, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're sorry to see PlayStation Vue go. That's another thing. People might think that we didn't expect them to survive, so we were hoping that they wouldn't. But that's not true at all. I think PlayStation Vue had the ability to really become a great streaming service, and unfortunately they couldn't, and we are really sad to see them shutting down.
Yeah, so here's the big question for you. Where do you think most people are going to go? I've been hearing a lot of talk about Hulu and YouTube TV and Sling TV. If you had to pick one, which one would it be going to?
I would say YouTube TV. I know that Hulu TV is great personally. It's my favorite live TV streaming service, but I've seen so many of our readers telling other people to move to YouTube TV who are losing PlayStation Vue. I think that they have very comparable channels, and I think it's just a great service, and it's a little cheaper. So a little cheaper than PlayStation Vue. So yeah, I won't be surprised to see a lot of people migrating over there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see which one wins. And I'm actually kind of surprised we haven't seen specials like, hey, leave PlayStation Vue, come to Sling TV.
Yeah.
Or come to YouTube TV. We'll give you an extended 30-day free trial or something to come.
Yeah, I won't be surprised to see that as the year comes to an end, since it's not shutting down until January 30th. There's still some time for a little competition there.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting because there's a lot happening. But I really wanted to dive into the three reasons I think PlayStation Vue failed. Number one being poor marketing. Number two being the name. And putting Sony first. We talked about this a little bit before, but a lot of people have seemed to be desperate to blame one, right? It's either the name, it's got to be either the price, or it has to be the marketing. And I really think it's kind of the perfect storm of all three, right? PlayStation Vue is an excellent service. People really love it who have it. But the people getting people to try it seems to be the main issue. And I do definitely think that the price point being higher than the competition has been a major issue for them. That they only hitting about 500,000. I heard they may have been at peak maybe 800,000 and then fell back down. It's got to go primarily, I think, on marketing if I was to pick one. But I don't think that's exclusive. Bad marketing can be overcome with a really good service through word of mouth. But the name confusion pushed even more people away on top of the bad marketing. And then the bad pricing a little bit there. They weren't out of the ballpark, but they were definitely more expensive. And you look at, Sony, like the Sony Crackle little bit debacle there. And more really all kind of came together to result in a bad experience for the end consumers. So I think this is a cautionary tale for all cord cutters out there or all cord cutting services, that you can't just rely on a good service that has a good channel lineup and had a good app for the most part, good DVR. You need to have more than that to succeed in a world where there's 10 competition. This isn't the monopoly of cable TV where I just go and say, hey, I'm cable TV. What do you do? Go get satellite? Well, some of them will go there. Some will come to me. I have no competition. Those days are over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're right. I really feel like it was a good service and they had some good features and people really liked it. But whenever you're faced with that much competition and you're not willing to really fight for the service, it's just way too hard to keep up.
Yeah, so we'll keep a close eye on this. Remember, you have until January 30th, 2019 to stay. They'll stop billing customers in December sometime, so your month of January will, depending if your bill is December 1st, you're the real winner here because you're going to get about a full month of PlayStation Vue for free. But But whenever your bill in January was, it won't happen, and then you'll continue to have the service for free until January 30th. Here's kind of the cool question. Will there just be a switch flip and go dark, or will Sony kind of do something cool at the end of the launch of or the closing of PlayStation Vue? You know, sometimes you see TV networks have kind of a special moment when they go off the air and more. I wonder if Sony will do the same.
Yeah, I would love to see that happen. I think you're right, though, that Sony just hasn't been very committed to PlayStation Vue. So I'm not sure if they would really have a lot of fanfare around the closing of it, but I would love to see something like that.
From what I've heard, the people on the team, though, a lot of the people who've worked on PlayStation Vue have been there from day one, and they may be very interested in doing something. Even if Sony corporate isn't, they may pull something out. We'll see. It'll be interesting. So get your old VHS tapes ready. Let's record it and let me know. But we'll be keeping a close eye on it. It is a possibility here that PlayStation Vue will lose some channels before then. Tastemade and Crown Media. Crown Media, of course, is the parent company of the Hallmark Channel lineup. Their contracts are set to renew in November with Sony. I'm not expecting Sony to be very interested in a renewal on these. Why put more money into PlayStation Vue when you're shutting it down? So I would not be surprised at all to see PlayStation Vue lose channels over the next few months. The good news is many of the big deals, like I think Discovery, Disney, NBC, Universal, and more have all recently been renewed. And the strange thing about that is Disney was just renewed a little over a month ago, Jess. What was that, late September, early September, somewhere around there?
Yeah, as you were saying that, I was trying to remember. I think it was early September, but I can't remember exactly when.
Yeah, so they did a big renewal with Disney, and now only to decide to sell it. I think they were trying to renew it to make it more competitive, more interesting to potential buyers, and that didn't work out, unfortunately. So let's keep moving along. A quick breaking news that you may have heard a little typing while I made Jess read my story I was supposed to do. AT&T TV Now just add WGN America to their lineup. So AT&T bringing that to both, I believe, AT&T TV and AT&T TV Now. We'll have more details over at corecarsnews.com. But yeah, wow, first addition to AT&T TV Now in a while, which is kind of interesting because AT&T has said that they want to move DirecTV customers over to AT&T TV or HBO Max. Jess, what's happening there?
Yeah, so AT&T wants to move their customers over to streaming platforms, including, like you said, AT&T TV and also HBO Max, which they are really, really pushing after this big announcement. So AT&T's chief operating officer, John Stankey, who we've just been hearing from like crazy lately, this guy's name is just in my brain. He has not made it a secret that this is his plan. This is something that he's very interested in. He actually came out with a statement saying that they did not buy DirecTV because they love satellite. They bought DirecTV in the first place because they wanted that customer base. So they've sort of always had this plan that they would take those customers, move them over to streaming platforms, and really focus on streaming through AT&T TV and HBO Max. So they've actually come out to say that they do not plan to launch any additional satellites other than the ones that are already out there. And they're now actually saying that they're interested in possibly selling DirecTV. They're hoping that they can migrate some of those customers over to their streaming services and then hopefully sell DirecTV altogether. So there's an investment group called Elliott Management, and they own $3.2 billion in AT&T stock. And this company has come out to say they believe that DirecTV Now was poorly executed. I was kind of surprised to hear a company actually come right out and say that. And I think we kind of agree that AT&T TV Now was not done well. So they're saying that they would really prefer if DirecTV was sold. Now, it does not sound like this is happening anytime in the immediate future, so don't expect to hear any breaking news about this right away. But it's definitely something that we should be looking out for.
Yeah, it sounds like AT&T wants to take as many customers off of DirecTV as they possibly can and put them on AT&T platforms. Now, what I thought was interesting here is this is something AT&T said wasn't basically going to happen. This kind of broke a few years ago, that reports were that AT&T was going to try to siphon as many customers off into streaming platforms as possible. And AT&T was very quick to say, no, not really. We're happy. DirecTV's not going anywhere. Well, that didn't last very long. That was very quickly switched around. Now that, subscriber numbers continue to fall. Over what, 1.3 million, if I remember correctly, Jess, subscribers lost in the third quarter of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
That, AT&T's like, hey, we're the quote, there are no sacred cows. I believe it was AT&T CEO, it was one of AT&T executives on the phone call said that in their portfolio, and clearly pointing his finger at DirecTV that, hey, if it makes sense, we will drop this service. So we'll have to keep a close eye on it.
Yeah, I just went back to double check those numbers from last week. AT&T reportedly lost just over 1 million subscribers in the last 3 months, and that was after losing 778,000 in the second quarter.
Yeah, they just can't seem to help themselves. They just want to continue to lose subscribers, it seems like. They talked about the fact that they believe subscriber losses have peaked, but that doesn't mean subscriber numbers have stopped. They do intend to or expect to see subscriber numbers leave as they try to become a, quote, premium service targeting more profitable customers. Question is, will that be successful? We'll have to wait and see. I have my doubts about the AT&T strategy here. I don't think it's a bad idea.
Yeah, it sounds like their investors have a problem with it, which I think is more of a concern to AT&T than anything. If your investors aren't happy, you're kind of in trouble.
Yeah, I don't think their idea is bad because I think it's a good idea to try to move customers to streaming. I just don't know if it's going to connect with enough people in time before the general world of competition catches up to them.
Yeah, absolutely. My question for you is, do you think that HBO Max will be enough to keep people around?
I think AT&T needs to re-earn the trust of cord cutters for HBO Max to be as successful as it could be. The problem with HBO Max is it's HBO. Biggest selling point of HBO Max is it has HBO content. It's the same price as HBO. Well, we already have HBO. We already know how many people subscribe to HBO in the United States. Will adding back catalog access bring new people into HBO? That's going to be the big question here. Can AT&T continue to get HBO to make original programming that is absolute must-see? We all talk about how big of a hit Game of Thrones was. But remember, Game of Thrones would have only been like the 7th or 8th most popular NFL football game on CBS when it was its peak right there. So I think they have a hard road ahead of them. They're talking a lot about, hey, in 2021, we're going to make an ad-free version or an ad-supported version that may be cheaper or free. Some people talk about we're going to start adding live TV into it. I would never count out AT&T. But I think AT&T burned a lot of bridges with how they handled DirecTV Now. DirecTV Now had the same big press event. DirecTV Now had the same big promotion push. And a lot of the same things said about HBO Max was said about DirecTV Now when it launched. Fast forward a couple years, and DirecTV Now is all but dead. It's now called AT&T TV and TV Now. And it's almost the afterthought within the company out there at the moment.
Yeah, I think you're right. And again, we love to see people succeed. We love to see companies succeed. So we're not rooting against AT&T, but we are hoping that they can kind of re-strategize and make this work, because I think they have the potential to have a good fan base or a good customer base and to really do a lot with HBO Max. So I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, the one thing I think AT&T could be very successful on is using their customer base to build this service. But we said that about DirecTV Now, and it must not have been successful enough. They were on track to be the largest live TV streaming service, and at the moment they were about to hit that mark and become the largest live TV streaming service, they pulled back and said, never mind. We're going somewhere else. So we'll keep a close eye on it.
Absolutely.
All right. Considering services that are maybe pulling back and saying something, we're looking at other ideas, is Walmart with Vudu. Walmart is reportedly considering selling Vudu or making a massive investment in the service to compete. This sounds a lot like where Hulu was back in about 2013, where Hulu owners briefly put the company up for sale, where Hulu could have been owned by somebody else or even shut down. only to later have Hulu decide, no, never mind, Hulu's owners decide they're going to invest heavily in Hulu, a move that seems to have paid off for Hulu because its subscriber numbers continue to grow. Well, according to the information, which also broke the news that PlayStation Vue was up for sale, Walmart is reportedly considering all options, including selling Vudu, as it faces a more competitive market right now. Walmart did send the information a statement that basically said, we're looking at all options. We, basically never say no. And I think that's one thing to remember. I think this is very different than PlayStation Vue's shutdown. Sony was in trouble with a service that was losing subscribers and was losing money. And now they were saying, hey, we're going to walk away from this. Vudu, according to reports, is not necessarily losing money. It just Walmart has decided either A, we need to pour a ton of money in to help compete against these growing new services, or B, maybe we sell and get out right now. Now, Walmart was not the original founder. It launched it back in 2004, and Walmart bought it in 2010 for about $100 million. It'd be very interesting to see. Walmart may say, hey, if we can get a good price on it, why not sell it, right? Why not take our money and walk away from this? So, Jess, does it surprise you that Vudu is for sale?
It does not surprise me. I do really like Vudu. I think it's a really good service, and I love the competition. So I like being able to check a few different sites if I'm thinking about buying a movie. I think it has the potential to be really great, but I also feel like this isn't a priority for Walmart. It's a really good asset to them, and if it's making them money, great, but I don't think that they have any kind of deep commitment to keeping Vudu going. So no, I'm not really surprised.
Yeah, one of the things to remember is even if Vudu sells, and it may not, it may very well end up where Walmart just says, hey, we're going to put the cash into this. Vudu wasn't originally a Walmart property. When Walmart bought it, everything transferred over. So I wouldn't freak out about your movies being taken away. You can always use movies anywhere to move a lot of them off of Vudu. And I would expect the new owners to just transfer it over to their new platform. So we'll keep a close eye on this. The nice thing is Vudu is a brand that could be sold and not necessarily tied to Walmart. It's not like the name would even have to change if it's sold, which it makes it a very different situation than PlayStation Vue. I think the big thing with PlayStation Vue was, hey, we have to spend all this money to buy it where we could build that ourselves. And then we have to rebrand it, so it's not like we're buying the name. We're not buying the brand PlayStation Vue. We're just buying the subscribers. Well, if PlayStation Vue shuts down, we could maybe get a good chunk of those subscribers for a lot less than that. Now with Vudu, hey, I can buy the brand. I'm buying the Vudu name, which has a good reputation. People may be much more willing to spend money on that to do that. And I think that's what Walmart's looking into right now.
Yeah, and I think that it would be a good investment for another company, and I would just really like to see it succeed. I would hate to see Vudu shut down because I think it's a really great service.
Yeah, they're in a tough spot. Let's be honest. Apple is expanding the iTunes Market Store into other devices. You can now buy movies through Apple on Roku. That puts a lot of pressure on Vudu right there. And of course, Vudu runs into some walls out there that, you can't actually buy a movie through the Vudu app on Apple TV. I don't think they're even on the Fire TV and more because, you'd have to give a cut to Apple or give a cut to Amazon, and they don't want to do that. Now, it is Walmart, and they have been heavily putting a lot of marketing behind it recently, and they've even been creating original content. Now, Vudu was reportedly going to launch a Netflix-like family-friendly streaming service. That never happened. But I'll be interested to see what Walmart does. Is this Walmart walking away from Vudu? There had been talk at one point that Walmart would have been a good fit to buy Roku and then, bundle Vudu into Rokus out there and really push it. So we'll keep an eye on this, but I would not freak out right now about Vudu selling. I don't think you're going to lose your movies, and I'm not even convinced it's going to happen. If it does happen, I don't think we're going to be in a PlayStation Vue situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And just one more thing. I mean, Walmart definitely has the money to invest in this if they choose to, and I would not be surprised to see them kind of take a completely different direction and say, no, we're really going to invest in Vudu and making this a really great service.
Yeah, you know what I find interesting here is this is typical business. Let's just be honest. With business, when you come to a major point in a company like this, there's always that moment where you say, is it worth it for us to make this massive investment to compete in the space? Or the space is kind of red hot right now. We could probably get pretty good dollar for our service right now. Do we take our money and go home? Do we invest in it and put our foot down and want to compete to be one of the biggest in this market? You don't make that decision without at least putting feelers out there to say, hey, if we did sell it, not saying we would, but what would the pricing be on that? There's whole, investment banks and stuff that specialize in that kind of situation where you can pay them, they'll come in, they'll give you a rough idea what you're good for, they'll see if there's any interested buyers right now. This is just kind of the normal part of a maturing market where you do want to consider all options. If you're a business like Walmart, you definitely want to consider all options before you go and invest or sell. So just because Walmart is considering selling Vudu doesn't even mean it will happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great point. And I'm interested to see about the future of Vudu. This is a service, again, that I really enjoy. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about this.
So Jess, do you share passwords?
Do I? Do I admit this on a podcast?
Probably not.
I actually think I don't. For a long time, I was sharing a Netflix password, but now I think I'm, a full-fledged adult and have my own password on all of my services.
Well, Spectrum thinks you're the problem right now.
Fair enough.
Spectrum's teaming up with Ace to crack down on password sharing. Jess, what's happening here?
Yeah, so this is just one more company added to the list that are really starting to get concerned about password sharing. And Spectrum had some interesting things to say about this, but I'll get to that in just a second. Spectrum is partnering with Fox and Disney along with the Alliance for Creativity and Entertainment. So this organization called ACE was created to crack down on piracy and unauthorized content access through password sharing. And Tom Rutledge is the CEO of Charter, and he says that he believes that consumers, creators, and distributors will all benefit from cracking down on password sharing. So he's saying it's going to benefit the people watching this. It's going to benefit the people creating this content. It's going to benefit the people distributing this content. We're all just going to be so much better off if we can really shut down this trend of password sharing. So this is something that I found kind of interesting. Spectrum has come out to say that they believe unauthorized access of watching their content is a major factor in their subscriber losses. So they believe that sharing your password is really what's causing people to drop Spectrum. And just one final note, there are no specifics about how this will work. They have not shared their plan for finding the people sharing passwords or what's going to happen if they do find out who this is.
Yeah, it's hard to deny that password sharing probably does have an impact on subscriber numbers. Is it quite as massive as I think Spectrum wants you to believe? Maybe not. But is it an issue? Yes. Netflix talked about this too, where they said, hey, we want to push back at the edges of password sharing, basically saying we want to go after some of the more extreme password sharers, the people who are overly aggressively sharing their passwords. I don't think they necessarily care about, hey, my kid's in college and he's still using my password while he's living in the dorm. I think they're more like, hey, I'm sharing my password with like 10 people who I don't know just because they gave me a password, I gave them a password kind of deal. And I think that's a lot what they want to crack down on. According to the press release, Spectrum and Ace, which includes companies like, okay, get this list of companies: AMC Networks, BBC Worldwide, Bell, CBS, Channel 5, Discovery, Foxtel, Hulu, HBO, Lionsgate, MGM, Millennial Media, NBC, Netflix, Paramount. I could go on and on. Sony and more are all included in this. We'll basically create best standards. Like, we're going to create this book here that can be used to help fight password sharing. We're going to share it with all the members, and that way everybody can have a consistent system to try to crack down on password sharing. So it would be interesting to see how successful this is and if it goes anywhere.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what their plan of attack is here, how they're going to find out who is password sharing and how they're really going to crack down on it. But you're right. I think they're really going after the leaders in this, the people that are really just creating Reddit threads where everybody is password sharing. I've noticed some of those have gotten shut down. And I mean, that obviously makes sense. At that point, the company is just losing so much money, and it really does make sense to crack down on password sharing.
Yeah, I mean, Spectrum is losing a lot of customers out there. Let's take a look at that. 1.7 million TV subscribers have been lost just from Comcast, Spectrum, Verizon, and AT&T. We're still waiting for Dish and many other companies to come out, but let's run down this real quick. AT&T lost over 1.3 million. Comcast lost over 238,000. Spectrum lost 77,000 over, and Verizon Fios lost over 67,000. Wow. Ouch. Worst quarter ever in the history of cable TV. When we look at subscriber losses, we won't know Dish for a while yet, and that will probably push as well over 2 million, And I've even heard reports that there are some losses coming, or Mediacom, has also lost subscribers, and that earning number just came out. So a lot of subscribers lost, just more or less than you thought would be.
Pretty on par with what I would have imagined. If you would have asked me, I would have guessed it would be around this number. We've just been hearing about subscriber losses left and right for the past couple quarters. This isn't super surprising to me, especially with hearing about the numbers of cord-cutting growth lately.
Yeah, the only thing that surprised me here was Spectrum's losses actually went down from the second quarter, but I believe they're up. They're up significantly from the third quarter last year. Now, Spectrum has their streaming services, and they're not breaking out the difference between their streaming subscribers and cable subscribers the way AT&T is doing it for satellite versus streaming. So it's possible that maybe that slight downturn in subscriber losses are coming heavily from the Spectrum streaming services subscribing out there versus new subscribers coming to cable.
Yeah, it definitely could be. And I think it would be smart for all of these companies to recognize that cord cutting is growing and to do what they can to get involved.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. We're going to be watching this very, very closely to see how this plays out. And anything you want to add here?
No, I'm ready to dive into some more AT&T news.
Yeah, real quick, why don't you tell us what's happening with AT&T's wireless plans?
Yeah, so this is some a more positive story than some of the other news we've gone over. AT&T is announcing a new unlimited wireless plan starting at $35 a month per line if you start with 4 lines. So there are actually 2 new plans that they are coming out with. AT&T Unlimited Starter for $35 per line for 4 lines, and AT&T Unlimited Extra for $40 per line with 4 lines. And that one just has an extra 15 gigabytes hotspot. And they've also announced that they will be coming out with another one later called AT&T Unlimited Elite, which will be $50 per line with a little bit extra hotspot data. So we also learned during the Warner Media Day, which was created to announce HBO Max details, that AT&T Unlimited customers will get free HBO Max with their plan. So all of these plans would be eligible for that free year of HBO Max. Or not free year, I'm sorry, just free HBO Max.
Yeah, these are very similar to Verizon's plans that recently rolled out, giving people different levels of unlimited, depending on how much hotspot data. I think is the big selling point there. The interesting thing here is AT&T Watch TV is no longer included in these plans starting on Sunday. It's now HBO Max when that launches next year. Kind of possible death nail in the future of AT&T Watch TV, which honestly has been kind of languishing. The Roku channel never came out. Some of the other promised features never happened. So we'll keep a close eye on this, but AT&T new plans, I don't think you have to switch over. I think this is if you are a new customer or you find something here you want to. I did switch over to the Verizon new ones because I wanted the new higher end data package there for my hotspot. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, definitely. It's so fun to see all of these wireless companies giving out free subscriptions to the different streaming services. I'm really enjoying seeing what you can get for free just by switching around your wireless plan.
Yeah, Spectrum, free Hulu, T-Mobile, free Netflix, Verizon, free Disney Plus for a year, and now free HBO Max from AT&T. When you're doing all these crazy things about the high cost of cable TV, maybe consider what services you already have at your fingertips.
Absolutely.
All right, so any questions? Let's just do 2 quick ones real quick.
Sure. Let me pick 2 of my favorites from my list. I have a few of them today. We will start with, okay, here's a good one. So there's a new member on the cord cutting tech support group on Facebook. She says that her husband wants to cut the cord, but she's still on the fence about it. She wants to know if there are any potential drawbacks to cutting the cord.
Oh, well, I mean, my thought is if you do it and you don't like it, cable will always welcome you back and they'll give you a new customer rate, right? You leave, you try it, you don't like it, you could get a better deal going back than you got right now. So I wouldn't really be worried. It's not like Comcast or Spectrum will say, oh, you cut the cord, we're not going to let you come back. So don't worry about that. My recommendation would be give it a try before you cut the cord. What my wife and I did is we researched everything. We signed up for the services we thought we wanted. We unplugged the cable box and we tried it we said a month. After 2 weeks, we're like, oh yeah, we know how to watch everything. We're all set. We're all happy. We're saving money. We called and canceled. But don't be afraid to give it a try. To say, hey, we're going to unplug the cable box. We're going to plug in the Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, Android TV, whatever you have, and try it out.
All right, and then our second question is actually from the chat while we've been recording. Somebody said they have PlayStation Vue and love having the Red Zone, the NFL Red Zone. Do you have suggestions about how to watch that after PlayStation Vue shuts down?
Sure. Sling TV and Fubo TV both offer the NFL Red Zone. The good news is our PlayStation Vue will stay running all the ways forward through the end of the NFL Red Zone season, because I think on January 30th, all the playoff games are done. I think that's only the Super Bowl. If I remember my schedule correct, somebody's going to correct me in the chat. If I am, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. But the good news is NFL Red Zone will be done far earlier than that, and that'll give you a whole year. So hopefully YouTube or Hulu or somebody else will also add NFL Red Zone. A lot can change in a year. You think back a year of cord cutting, we had DIRECTV Now. 1 year ago right now, DIRECTV Now was the most successful live TV streaming service. It was reportedly going to top out Sling TV and become the largest one. It was the fastest growing at that time. Fast forward a year, and it's in free fall, and AT&T's all but decided to shut it down from what we're hearing. So a lot can change in a year. I wouldn't be freaking out about the next NFL season right now.
All right. I do have one last quick question for you.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Halloween movie?
I really don't have a Halloween movie. I like the Garfield Christmas special. That's always kind of my go-to for Christmas. And a great Pumpkin Patch, Charlie Brown. Those would probably be my 2 I would say you have to watch. But Garfield is my number 1.
Perfect answer. Mine is Hocus Pocus, and it's on Hulu if you have a live TV subscription.
Ooh, I did not realize I was on Hulu. Nice. All right, Jess, what are you watching right now?
My recommendation this week is actually from Crackle, which is a free streaming service. They have really been focusing on original content, and they just signed on with Ashton Kutcher for a show he produced called Going From Broke. And they are really looking at student loan debt, but also just millennial finances in general. They work with millennials and help them kind of get their financial lives together. So I actually watched the entire season of it while I was going through and reorganizing my budget spreadsheet and being a big nerd. So I highly recommend it. It's on Crackle, and it is free to watch.
All right. And I would recommend the new Silicon Valley season on HBO. It's the final season of Silicon Valley. And I'm very excited about it, so I'm not going to spoil anything. I highly recommend you check it out. It's available on HBO, wherever you may get that. Or, of course, you can always wait until it's all done and then buy a season pass somewhere. All right, everybody, I hope that you are having a fantastic Halloween. Be safe out there if you're listening to this on Halloween when it goes live. Otherwise, we will see you back here next week for our first post-Halloween, pre-Thanksgiving show. It's hard to believe that tomorrow is November. So be safe out there, everybody. Thanks for your support. We really appreciate it. We'll talk to you all tomorrow.